Hello and welcome to the 32nd episode of Tailoring in Conversation. In this series, I'll be talking to tailors, business owners, cloth merchants, and other industry participants from all around the globe to gain a better insight into their worlds. My guest for today is Lee Marsh. Lee is a bespoke cutter, tailor, and designer based in London. He combines the best of these two worlds to create pieces that inspire by pushing the boundaries of traditional tailoring. In our conversation today, we're going to be talking about apprenticeships, online education, and more. So let's go. Let me start with something that you probably don't know about me. Before I moved to London to learn tailoring, which is in 2014, it's like yesterday for you. Okay, one of my friends asked me, well, you're going to London. What are you going to do? Why can't you do tailoring here? And so I said, well, in London, there is a street called Savile Row. All the tailors are there. And he said, well, show me. So I went on YouTube and I tried to, find something on Savile Row. But there wasn't really much of content about Savile Row back then on YouTube. And so I found one of your videos. And it's the one where you're walking down the street and you're showing the garments you've made and you're talking about, keeping your uniform on after school was closed and stuff. So I said, well, I'm going there. This is it. To be honest, it was actually one of the nicer videos because you were showing a lot of different styles of garments, and that's what I kind of expected when I arrived on Savile Row. But then I realized that no, it's mainly just traditional coats, which is, a different field, let's say. But for those who don't know you and haven't been introduced to your work, could you give us a little bit of a background of when you started, why you started, where you're from, and how your journey kind of like went?
Wow. Thanks first for Reza for having me on, man. You know what I mean? It's such a great addition to the bespoke community, you know what I mean? So
oh man, my pleasure. Thank you.
And you know what I mean? And you're a great coat maker as well, man. Jackets are on point, sir.
Thank you.
Even though I look at them sometimes like, wow, I need to like start putting a few extra stitches in. But I've done a lot of stuff in the earlier days in terms of bespoke. I come from more of a creative background, I would just say. My grandparents were tailors.
Both of them?
Yeah, both of them from Jamaica. And I think I started off with the attitude more or less that, when you've got Jamaican heritage, right, usually Jamaicans, they will make anything. They can make, if you're a sewer, you always got one sewer in the family. So my gran was that person. She would make anything. I'll bring magazines to her and I'll say, I want to wear this for carnival. Can you make it for me? And I was just amazed by all of that. So for me, she really built up the confidence in me because I learned a lot of sewing from them, from the foundation part of my learning journey, so to speak. I learned a lot of machining, a lot of like creative sewing. So for me,
how old were you back then when you learned all of this?
I was probably about 13. I was learning.
That's very young.
Yeah. And then I really started to sew because that's when I wanted to do it myself because my gran was always doing it for me. About 16, I started to do my own stuff like shorts and stuff like that. I just got the buzz from there. And I really wanted to, because I was really creative. I used to do a lot of art and draw a lot. So I went to art college, and then from art college, I was like, I really like the sewing part, and it went into like art and design, then fashion design. And then from fashion design, I was like, okay, I want to do my own label. I want to do something really creative. And I used to do like fashion shows back in the 90s. I was like, one of the only guys that were trying to do menswear in a predominantly women's wear, environment. I mean, there's loads of guys that were doing it back then as well, don't get me wrong, like good tailors. But I mean, in terms of trying to incorporate more design aspect to the garments, I was doing that from very early, So it took me, I must have done loads of fashion shows. I just got used to it after a while, just because I love doing it rather than trying to sell. Do you know what I mean? It was crazy.
So when you say fashion shows, Do you mean you would organize the entire show, or you would look for places where they are doing fashion shows and you would partake in those shows?
Both. Yeah.
Right.
So I would do, whether it was like off schedule London Fashion Week. So I'd organize my own models and then, do it on the scheduled dates, whether it was January or whatever. And I'll do, spring, summer wear, and then I'll do autumn, winter wear. So I'll do a couple collections a year.
And so
And
how
these
many garments would you have for each collection?
probably about 10. It wasn't a lot. It wasn't a lot. So
Right.
I'll have like 3 suits maybe, and shirts, overcoats. But it was a lot of outerwear stuff, and because I had a lot of machine background experience from my
Right.
grandparents, I had a little bit of tailoring experience, and I tried to read books, just like most students that find it difficult now when trying to find information on the internet. So there wasn't much back then, as you know. There was no information, so it's purely books really. So I
Yes.
learned what I could, and I just knew that there was something missing from the collection. The quality wasn't quite there, and even though I enjoy the creative side, I was like, if I want to do this really seriously, I need to find how I can make these garments look better.
How
And
did you know that something was missing? Because I can
crazy, right?
imagine that if you have learned a good set of skills by the time you're what, 19, 18, 20,
Yeah,
how do you then think this isn't enough? There is something wrong. You know what I mean?
you're right, because if you don't know, you don't know, right? If you don't know
Exactly. Yeah.
what looks good and what doesn't look good, then you
Yeah.
don't know. Because I kind of had a feeling, because of my background from my grandparents, I learned all I could up to a point where I knew they couldn't do a proper bespoke jacket, because they didn't know about bespoke then, my grandparents. So I was like, okay. I started to do I applied for a job basically as a coat maker, and I made this machined up jacket, and I thought it was amazing. And when I got to the shop, I realized that this is not amazing what I bring into them. This is rubbish. They're doing proper bespoke. Because as soon as I saw in the window, it was just amazing. I was like, okay, I need to learn how to do this. And
Yeah.
that's when I reflected and looked at my own clothes that I was doing for my collections. I was like, yeah, I need to learn this properly. Do you know what I mean? Because at the time I
Yeah.
wasn't earning money. I was doing collections, and I just was doing it for the fun of it, but I needed to get a job. So at the time I was working part-time doing mechanics. I was completely different job doing mechanics and stuff. And I thought, no, I don't want to do that. And I spoke to my dad, and he said to me, what do you want to do? Do you want to do mechanics where you're out in the cold all the time? Or do you want to be, creating garments where you're in the warmth? And I was like, yeah, I like that. Let me stick to, because back then my hands were like callous, and when you're working on cars, horse, and I was like, you know what, this is getting a bit much, but I enjoyed doing it. But I was like, it's make or break. I either choose one or the other. And I thought, I want to pursue this creative avenue. So anyway,
Yeah. How old were you back then when you decided to do bespoke and pursue that?
I went to London College Fashion for a bit. I must have been about 20
Okay.
when I
Okay.
got my job
Yeah.
at Tom Taylor's in Eton Windsor. There was a tailoring shop there, and they did traditional suits, and they used to do old Etonian tweed jackets for the old Etonians, and they used to do morning coats for the Eton schoolboys and stuff like that. And yeah, I got a job there. Initially, it was for an apprenticeship, but the tailor didn't turn up that was supposed to teach me for some reason. I didn't know why. So I ended up just doing waistcoats, and I did that for several years. But there was a tailor that worked there at the time. He was a trouser maker, and he used to work on Savile Row, and he used to tell me about, no, this Savile Row place, Lee, you got to go there. And I was, at the time, I didn't even hear about Savile Row. I was like, what is this place? And I was like, okay, I'm not learning what I want to learn, which was the jackets. I was learning a lot at the time anyway. And I kind of had this confidence that I wanted to learn everything. Just like, I suppose most students, like fashion students as well, will have that idea that, because they know their fashion background and they know how to design, they almost lose the side of the making and production side, because it's not so important to them, because they're more about the creative. So for me, I was like, okay, I just want to learn everything. Now, if this is what I need to learn, I need to just learn everything. I remember the guy at the time in the shop, he said, oh, Lee, you can't learn everything in bespoke. You have to pick one thing, and then, master that, then you can move on to something else. And it was like 5 years to learn jackets to 6 years. I was like, is it going to take me that long? Really? Are you sure? And when I saw just the hint of what was involved in it, I was like, yeah, I could tell that it was a lot more than I thought. And I initially thought. So there's me having in one head that I just want to implement some, tailoring techniques to my fashion brand, and realizing that it's not going to be a quick fix thing. So I thought, okay, I want to learn how to make jackets properly, because that's what I started off wanting to learn properly. I ended up doing the waistcoats. So when I couldn't get taught by this company, when I was in Eton, Windsor, I thought, okay, I was told about this Savile Row place and I've got to go there then. That's where I got to go to learn. So I remember I went there, and it blew my mind. I met a guy called Paul Griffin. He was the first person I ever met from Savile Row. And
which company was this?
He used to work for Anderson & Shepherds.
Right.
Yeah. Back when Anderson & Shepherds were on a row, and they had the workshops above top floor. And at the time, I think it was Stephen Hitchcock was working still there as well. And yeah, he was working in the workshop. They had a workshop around the corner, from there. It used to be an old art gallery. I've forgotten where exactly it was, but anyway, I went there to see him, and yeah, he already had students. He wasn't able to take on anyone. So I was like, I was so gutted. He said, why don't you just go and check out like just shops and bring some samples? So I went to Henry Paul. I just bought loads of samples. I bought jackets.
What kind of jackets you bought?
Yeah, at the time, I couldn't make a decent jacket properly, but I could make one, because where I was working, there was a woman that was making like women's jackets and men's jackets. But she couldn't teach me. There was another person that was supposed to come teach me, but they didn't turn up. So anyway, she used to feel sorry for me and show me little bits and pieces, and I used to chat with her all the time and learn bits from her, So I took all these samples to Henry Paul, and they looked at them and they must have seen the jackets and thinking, yeah, you're not there, mate. You got a long way to. But my waistcoats at that point were really, really good, because I've been doing it for a few years since then, and they took me on as a waistcoat maker, and then. Yeah, I worked there for 3 or 4 years, I think, working for all the tailoring houses, doing waistcoats, and I still wanted to learn jackets, and I still didn't get an opportunity. So I ended up had a job offer at Eves and the Hawks, and they wanted a waistcoat maker and a trouser maker. And I said, I could do both. I was one of them guys, like, I could do that.
Yeah.
It's that old, probably Jamaican background in me, from my parents, like, you can do anything, you know what I mean?
Anything, yes. Yeah.
Just say yes and then figure it out. But at the time, I made a few trousers, but it was slow. You know what it's like if it's not your thing and you don't do it all the time, it will take, you could do it if you've done one or two and you've done it properly, but to do it consistently all the time when somebody wants it like next week or whatever,
to do it efficiently,
it will take you, you could get it done, but it will take you a long time. It's not efficient, rather than the waistcoats, I was really efficient at that. So I must have done a few, and then they realized that, okay, let him just do the waistcoats. So I did that. And then I was so happy, because I was just in a workshop full of other tailors that were coat makers. And for me, that's all I wanted to go in there for. I just wanted to get my foot in the door in there and just learn from everybody in there. And there was some great coat makers in there. And that was, for me, instead of trying to wait for that apprenticeship still, I thought, you know what, let me just surround myself around other tailors and just learn bits and pieces. Do you know what I mean? And
this is a very interesting point you bring up. So I would say, I don't know how many people would be in the same position as you have been, because you knew how to sew from a very early age. What you said, 13. That's 13. I wasn't. I think at 13 I discovered Eminem, something like that. So that was the highlight of what I was doing in my teenage years. But you already knew how to sew. You were already participating in fashion shows, so that's not nothing. It's fairly, you did say like, I did a few fashion shows, but doing fashion shows is quite intense. Even if all your garments are machine made, it's still like 10 garments. So you had the experience of that. You also had learned how to make waistcoats. And that's again another thing. But at the same time, you were stuck with a dilemma. I need to make this coat. I need to learn how to properly make a coat. And so you didn't just enter Savile Row by being purely an apprentice who doesn't know anything and just learns the system or whatsoever. You were kind of like semi-professional, semi-apprentice. So Did you see yourself as an apprentice, or did you see yourself as a
Yeah, I had
professional who
to.
wanted to expand?
Yeah, I mean, I had to just forget about everything that I learned and just try to study this thing called bespoke jacket making.
Right.
So it didn't matter what I knew beforehand. And this is what a lot of students kind of get caught up in sometimes. You know, they might do a big degree and in MBA and MA or whatever in fashion design and decide that
Mm-hmm.
I'll go and learn a few you know, techniques in bespoke
Mm-hmm.
and go to Savile Row and realize that it's not that easy to get an apprenticeship or easy to get in. And
Mm-hmm.
if they've got that attitude like, oh, I kind of know it all already, then people don't really want to teach you because it's like you've got to start from fresh. And I
Mm-hmm.
kind of I was kind of not say I knew that when I went there because I didn't. I just thought
Mm-hmm.
I want to learn this thing. So there's
Yeah.
half the time people didn't even know what I did you
Mm-hmm.
know, outside of that because I was so because I didn't have the opportunity for someone to teach me side by side. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, last thing I want to do is start talking about my designing stuff and other things that I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing. Because if I want to get someone to teach me, I have to
Mm-hmm.
show people that I'm focused on really wanting to learn this one
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
And there would be people that would show me stuff because they knew I really wanted to learn and I was dedicated.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. When you're in a workshop and you're around other tailors, people will show you things if they see
Mm-hmm.
that you really want to learn it. But if they see that you're kind of sidetracked and you're trying to do other little bits and pieces, they're not really going to give you the time of day, especially if you're, you know, someone that doesn't know what they want to do. And we don't always know what we want to do when we get into the
Mm-hmm.
industry. It's
True.
not difficult because it's not one of those industries that you can just come in and if you're lucky enough to do work experience, that's fine. And you can
Mm-hmm.
like stay with one person 1 minute and stay with another person. But then as a tailor, you're seeing that in a workshop that guy doesn't really know what he's doing. Why am I going to spend my time and
Yeah.
invest my time to show him? So it's a
Mm-hmm.
very tricky thing because as someone that wants to learn as well, hasn't made up their mind yet,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of do want you do want to soak up different bits of knowledge to see where
Yeah.
you want to go in your direction. So for
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
it helped that I knew exactly what I wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
um, which was just learn that one thing first. And while I was learning that, when I left, like after you know the day was gone by 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, or whatever, I'll go home and then I'll think about how I can incorporate those
Mm-hmm.
techniques that I learned into my designs. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? No one
Yes.
really knew that because I was just going there focused because I needed to make sure that people saw that I was serious about learning, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me,
It's a
yeah,
funny thing you say that because what you did was actually pretty smart. You know, I would say kind of almost diplomatic in a good sense because you probably have experienced this. Someone walks into a tailoring shop loud as hell and they're like, hey, I want to set up my own brand and I'm here to just do like 2 days of work experience. And that's, I was like, okay, that's the last time
yeah,
we saw you, you know?
that's it. Yeah,
Why do you think, and this is, I didn't just say that so that next time they're going to say, oh, I really want to become a tailor and fool the tailor kind of thing. But,
yeah.
you know, why do you think that it's so important for anyone who wants to teach someone else that the student that they're going to teach has, I wouldn't say starts from zero, but at least, and this sounds very bad, but at least can pretend as if they are starting from zero. So even if you know a few
Absolutely.
things, you know what I mean? So
I know
someone
what you
walks up to you and like, hey, Lee, can you show me how to make a jacket? Oh yeah, by the way, I already know how to canvas. You're going to be like, sorry, I'm going to have to teach you how to canvas. But why do
yeah.
you think that is? Why do you think that teachers never say, hey, what is it that you already know? Show me what you can. Maybe I'll approve of it. And then we don't need to cover that. Why is it always we have to start from zero?
Yeah. I think it's there's a few different things going on there. I think it's a good point though. It's a good point. I think firstly, I'm just talking from personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
If I have someone coming to me that already knows, this has happened already, that already knows a lot of things, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and they say, oh, they're learning this bit from that person, they've learned that from there, and they've learned this
Mm-hmm.
from there. Straight away, sometimes they don't tell me that straight away, but sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I can tell if I've given them something to do and they haven't done it the way I've showed them, and I
Yeah.
say, oh, how come you did it that way? Oh, because this is the way I've been used to doing. I've done it by this person that showed
Right.
me. Yeah, that is very annoying because for one, you're like, why have I wasted my time showing you something where obviously you don't feel it's right for you and you're doing something else? Fair
Yeah.
enough if you've tried it, But let me know, say, oh, this is find it difficult. And then I'll say to you, okay, I'll show you another way that might be easy for you. But I think the point is when you're, it's a very tricky thing when you've got an apprentice, because they need to have a blank canvas coming in so that they can absorb the knowledge that you're teaching them, even if they already know different bits and pieces. I think it's better to just focus on one particular way first, and then you can incorporate all your other ways, because everybody we know this already. Everyone has a different, we know that already, right? But the point is to learn one way, and then as you're progressing and you're learning how to make the next jacket better and the next jacket better, you'll find your own rhythm and your own method of incorporating other bits and pieces that you found easier before to make that garment. And, you know, whether it's a year down the line, your garment will probably look a lot better. I'll give you an example. I've got my old apprentice. I taught her exactly the way, and she was really good because she could sew before, and she did everything I showed her, and she done it well. And now, this is probably like 6 years later, I know she does things a lot different. But when I look at the garment, I can still tell that it's the same as mine in a way.
Your influences, you can see.
I can still see the influence. But to reach that point, she's done other techniques that are easier for her to achieve that. So it's like everyone has that different thing that works for them. For example, like, I mean, when I used to work in Henry Poole, right, and there used to be this guy called Stavros. He's still about now, I think he's working in Huntsman's now. Pocket machinist, amazing pocket machinist. So I was working in front of him. He used to work at the back. All you would hear was zoom, 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 flying all over the place, pockets put down. And he would do the pockets in like 20 minutes. He was just amazing. And I thought, I've got to learn how this guy does this, right? Like work, and I used to look back and looking at, just chatting with him and just clocking everything that he's doing. He used to have these nails as well. And we used to like put creases in the silicia and he didn't even get up off the machine. I was like, how is this guy doing it? So I kind of just kept watching and I kind of figured out how he do it. So now I was thinking, okay, I want to do the way that he's done it. But I knew that it's going to take me a long while to do it. The first one I did was just all over the place, and it took me probably 3 years to get it right to a stage where I don't have to get off the machine. I can just make some impress pockets by just sitting down, as long as it's all
3 years out. You said?
Yeah, it took me about 3 years to get good.
That's a lot of practice.
It was a lot of practice.
You know, you're a Bruce Lee fan, right?
Yeah.
Same here. So I think it's yeah, I think it's the greatest moment to just drop a Bruce Lee quote. So one of his quotes that I love is, "I'm not afraid of the person who's practiced 1,000 kicks, but I'm afraid of the person who has practiced one kick 1,000 times." So in those three, what you're saying is exactly that.
100%, man. I like that Bruce Lee. That's true. Practice that one. I those pockets, I practiced it religiously, just after pocket, and I was like, okay, I'm getting there now. As soon as I started to get okay-ish, I was like, okay, now I can do some work, you know what I mean? Someone's job now. And then and that's when, because it's different when you're actually doing it on a proper job, because then it's the nerves and the pressure. So it took me another year to get really comfortable with that as well. Do you know what I mean? And so my point was, me now, when I teach people, if I'm showing someone some in-breast pockets, I will show them that way because that's the way I've mastered. But I know it will take them a long while to get to that point. But I will always give them an option. I'll say, I can show you this way that I've learned, but it takes a while to get there. Or I can show you the hand way where you can, you know, do it in the jets and do it by hand. So usually it's better to show them by hand and do it that way. And then I'll say the way I do it now. But the point is trying to, not everyone's going to get what you're showing them straight away, because everyone's has mastered that at a different time and a different pace. So it's difficult to say to someone, okay, if you can't do what I've just shown you, then I don't want to see anyone else's way that you do it, or I don't want to know you just got to try and do that. Not everyone's going to get that. Do you know what I mean? So I like to work with different styles of making, and depending on the student. So I have one style that I do all the time consistently that I'll teach, but if you find that someone's not really grasping that, you have to adapt, you know. And sometimes there might be different things that I will show them that is still not get it, and then you'll have in their mind, I do it this way, this is how I feel comfortable, just do it that way then, you know what I mean? Just do it that way.
Well,
long
you
as the
know,
result
this
is
is
the same.
it's a very interesting thing because I noticed that sometimes when I was working on Savile Row, we would have work experience people, and sometimes I had to show them how to do, I don't know, a pad stitch or how to sew on buttons. And I noticed a few times that if I would show them something, they would say something that would blow my mind, and that doesn't work for me. And I thought back then I thought, who do you think you are doing here work experience, and I'm showing you something, leaving my own work, and then you're telling me that's not how it works for you. And
Yeah,
then I thought about it more, and I thought, well, and this is just, I'm thinking out loud, I thought maybe I thought of two possibilities. Either they have something so specific in their minds in terms of what it is that they want to make, that they say, well, that doesn't work for me because I can see that won't give the results that I'm looking for.
yeah,
Or they don't see the craft yet as a means of producing or being productive to earn a living, but
yeah,
something more to find themselves in. I mean, I
yeah.
don't know if you had this. I'm sure you've had this. So in the beginning, I was way more romantic about certain things than I am now. And if I was making a pocket, it had to be in a way, I had to fiddle around with it in a very
I know what
specific
you
way.
mean.
You know what I mean? And now
I know exactly what you mean.
after a while, I look at it and I'm like, why am I doing all this fiddling while I can just do this and it's still exactly the same effect,
Yeah, I know
Do you,
exactly what you mean.
so
Yeah,
so do you think that we outgrow the romance that we begin with and start to see it more from a technical and efficiency perspective, and that's why we become a bit more sensitive to how it should be done because it's all part of a system now, whereas when
yeah,
you're young, it's not part of a system yet, it's just the romance of doing it for the sake of doing it. How do you
yeah,
look at that? How do you see
yeah.
that?
Wow, that's deep. That's a deep question, man. But I agree with you. It's almost like, you've been taught away
Mm,
from your teacher from their generation, and their generation has been taught away. It's been passed down, passed down.
yeah.
And you know, you kind of fall in love with the craftsmanship of it all in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning and want to
Mm-hmm.
learn these things. And everything's amazing, like how they do it this way. And it,
Yeah.
some things it doesn't need to be like that. It can be so simple, but it's
Yeah.
just the way that I would say people make it look like it's more difficult than it is. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it could be the teacher that
Mm-hmm.
just exaggerates a bit too much.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yes, that's for sure.
romanticize
Yeah.
it a bit too much when it
Yeah.
doesn't need to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
my teacher, for example, the way he used to sew, it used to be beautiful in a way. I used to see him stitch, and he was more about handling the garment and the way it feels in your hand and making sure
Mm-hmm.
you move the fullness in the right way. And it was very good it was very good to look at because it was
Mm-hmm.
just like, wow, I want to do that like that. I want to be able to create the garment the way he's done it with his hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I look at someone else that put loads of little stitches in, and the way they'll do it was very disciplined in terms of they have to do the stitch this
Mm-hmm.
far away from the edge, they have to
Mm-hmm.
roll it that much, and they have to do certain amount, and it has to be at this angle when you're doing it
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just too technical. So
Mm-hmm.
there's so many different ways that different tailors sew,
Mm-hmm.
but overall it is the craftsmanship that people are trying to
Mm-hmm.
um you know uh it's almost like when I sew, I try to keep it simple, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't try to make it more than it needs to be. I like to keep
Mm-hmm.
things very, very simple.
Mm-hmm.
And that's partly why I probably don't use loads of stitches,
Mm-hmm.
and I like to use my hands a lot more. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it may look like I'm romanticizing the garment a lot,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but that's just because it's just the way I handle it and the way
Right. Yeah.
I make things fit, and the way, just like for example, the pockets I was telling you about, that's all about
Mm-hmm.
using your hands. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah.
about how you use your hands, how you feel back the
Mm-hmm.
jets, and you feel it right on the edge before you
Yeah.
stitch at the back of it. You
Yeah. Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you can only do it with your hands. You know what I mean? So it
Yeah.
may look like I'm fiddling and romanticizing the cloth and all that, but
Yeah.
I'm just I'm just feeling it through, and I'm just saving
Yeah.
myself off the machine and
Mm.
basting the bits. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to sit down and do these beautiful like prick stitches in between the jets
Mm-hmm.
and make it
Mm-hmm.
look, and like, yeah, this is how you can't see it, can you? You can't see it. And
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be done like that. It doesn't need to be done. Do you know what I mean? I'm not trying to
Yeah.
water down anything. I'm not trying to water down anything, but I believe that if something needs to be done by hand, you should do it by hand. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things, if you're getting a bespoke garment and you're um, giving it to a customer and he's paying a bespoke price, you should put a
Yeah.
lot of hand in there, and it should be
Mm-hmm.
bespoke, you know. But if there's stitches that are not necessarily needed to be done just for the sake
Mm-hmm.
of doing it by hand, then why do that? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
example, I do jackets. I do some sleeves by hand when I do
Mm-hmm.
it. For students, that's because they
Mm-hmm.
might have a domestic machine and it's going to be too much to go through the machine. So I say,
Yes.
just do it
Yeah.
by hand. It's just easier, you know.
Yeah.
But if you've
Yeah.
got an industrial machine, just do it on an industrial machine. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Well, it's
So,
interesting because this is where I believe the perspective that the tailors have about their own work and how they communicate it, marketing in general within tailoring, and the perception of the client kind of like clash, because you know very well that when you're sitting on the machine and you're making those jettings without leaving the machine is stitching it for you, but you are still the operator of the entire thing. So if you
yeah,
don't feel where the jetting is and you don't
exactly,
lay everything correctly on the machine, it's still not going to be a nice pocket. Now,
exactly.
you could say perhaps you are still doing it by hand. It just happens to be a machine that secures the stitches,
Yeah,
right? Because
exactly.
so you've probably seen this many times. We take a few canvases, you pad one of them by hand, big stitch, you pad the other one by hand, small stitch, you pad the other one, the third one, with a machine stitch, and long stitch on a machine. And when you look at it, when you hold it up, when you just feel it, the only difference that you really feel is the firmness of the canvas in the end result. You
Exactly.
could still have the same shape, right? Because you put the darts
Yeah,
in, the darts bring out all the shapes. So all
exactly.
three are really done by hand. It just is, the emphasis should be more on operated by hand rather
Yes.
than, because I mean, you don't put your finger into the canvas and then pull a thread through the big hole that your finger made. It's still a
Yeah,
needle
yeah,
is a,
yeah,
you know, a needle is a tool, and so the thread is a tool, and the machine is a tool. So
yeah,
it's probably a weird misconception that people have. Lee, I'd like to talk about the masterclass that you have, because I know people will be watching this interview, and I'm sure there are many people who would like to get in touch. Now, but I also want to connect it to a few other topics. You
sure,
have
sure.
done a traditional, you have seen a traditional workshop. You've been there, you've done it. Now you have also created a course online through, cameras, just as we are talking, where you actually can see students from all around the world. And I guess the only barrier that you may have is either a language barrier with them or a slow internet connection. But they can still download your videos that you have produced that they kind of like buy into. What do you think is, and there are other tailors who do tailoring courses, virtual
Yeah.
and stuff like, okay. What do you think are the main big differences between a virtual tailoring course and a workshop experience where you have to go there, knock on that door, just squeeze yourself into that workshop and do
Yeah.
everything by chocolates? I don't know, say nice words, yeah, stay
Yeah, yeah.
later than everyone else. What do you think are some of the differences between these two
Yeah.
different worlds, really?
They are. I think firstly, you can't be one-on-one with somebody if you're in a workshop with them and someone's side by side with you and you're teaching them, you know. There are pros and there are cons with both, and it still even depends on who's teaching you as well. So it depends on who's teaching you, and also depends on how good the course is as well that you're learning online. It's all
Right.
about information, and everybody has a different learning capability as well. So you know, someone that might be watching more intense tutorial videos. Most people that can sew, they're more visual anyway. So as long as they can see the detail and see what you're talking about and you explain it properly, and you would understand this because you would explain in depth, so that if someone doesn't know how to sew, they could probably understand bits and pieces. Do you know what I mean? But
Yes.
essentially, it's about the information and the content, right? So it's the same as if I'm teaching someone that's next to me, I'm explaining and I'm showing them, and then I'm letting them get on with it. You know, depending on if that student is capable enough to be on his own to do that task. Obviously, we're checking in, and if he just doesn't know how to do it, then obviously they'll have to take over the garment. That's the luxury of being someone where you can actually do it for them. You know, and it's a fine line, because you can get into a habit of just doing the work for them and not actually doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, when you're online, you can't reach through the screen. You're like, no, you got to do like that. This is my one. Yeah. This is how I've done mine.
Yeah.
That point on yours, that, you know, this part of mine, you need to make sure it looks like this. And this is how I've done it again, if I need to explain it again. And then I'll watch them do it. So there are ways you can get around not actually being next to somebody and taking over the work and doing it for them. But having that comfort of having someone next to you, whereas if you had any questions at any time, you can just say, oh, how'd you do this bit again? And they could come over and just you know, show you or whatever, you know, as opposed to when you're online, because I have the tutorial videos, they'll watch those. And then if they have any questions, they can contact me. Usually they will show me, send me pictures of where they're stuck or whatever. And I'll be like, okay, on our next Zoom private lesson, we'll go through that piece again, and I'll check their work first, and then I'll go through it on my end and show them how to do it properly, and then I'll watch them do it. And, you know, so there are ways you can get around those tricky parts where you can't actually just take the garment from them, you know. So again, that is down to the student being a bit more proactive as well. Not saying realizing where they've gone wrong, because when you learn, you don't know where you're going wrong, but let me check each stage so I can make sure they're okay before they move on to the next kind of module, you know. Because, you know, when you're, and this is one thing it does get annoying sometimes when you're teaching someone that's next to you, they're always asking questions every minute, and you're trying to get on with your work, and being, you know, self-employed, you're like, I'm not actually earning no money at the moment. But I know that as teachers, when you're teaching someone as an apprentice, it takes like a couple of years before they can actually do the base properly, pocket base, where they can actually help their master, not saying earn money, but help him not lose money by doing his own works, because you're actually helping him, you know? And I think with the courses, because you get people that obviously paying for the course, they're there because they want to learn, and they want to get all the information. So it's my job to teach them everything I know. I'm not holding back anything, so they can get all the information before they want to commit to, if they want to go to do an apprenticeship possibly, and they're actually able to help somebody a bit more because they know a bit more knowledge. You know what I mean? Without saying, oh, I know all this and I've done this course, and, you know, and not impose that on their teacher, because they still have to go within frame mind. I know the boundaries, and I know what you know, how to make a jacket, but obviously I need to keep practicing. So whatever they get from their teacher, they can kind of absorb it easier, because it's kind of familiar, even if they don't get a different style, but they're actually able to learn quicker because they've kind of done it before. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. I believe what you say, actually, as you're saying it, it makes me think of a few things that are actually very positive. So I remember when I started doing work experience and then my apprenticeship, one of the things that I found a little bit difficult was, well, in my case, I also moved from another country to London. So I had to figure out as quickly as I could what the British culture in general was, you know, because I used to live in the Netherlands. So in the Netherlands, I'm used to people being a certain way. In London, I didn't know if someone said something or did something, whether that was their personal quirk, whether that was the workshop culture, or whether that was the general society culture. So I had to kind of like figure that out, and it was very tough to do that because it was just pure confusion for me all the time. And so on top of that, I also had to kind of like learn, kind of like crawl my way through people and just see what can I ask this person. How often can I ask this person a question? If if they say get lost, can I come back another time? And so that's all layers of more or less. I guess it does sharpen you at the end once you get through it. But in the beginning, it does create a lot of cloudiness for you to just do your work. I remember I wanted to learn how to canvas, and I learned how to make 5 different styles of tees, how to wait for 3 different people, how to talk. I learned pretty much everything except for canvassing, and I thought, damn, man, I'm here to learn tailoring. Why am I not learning this? So what you are saying and what you're describing in regards to these virtual courses is that actually that eliminates all of that noise, and it allows you to focus purely on the techniques, the craft, ask you your questions, get the time you need from your teacher. And then if you want to really be a professional, you can move on to a workshop where you can then maybe have a bit more space in your mind to figure out the workshop culture and stuff like that. So would it be fair to say that virtual courses act somewhat as a pre-apprenticeship rather than an actual apprenticeship?
Yeah, I would say so. And again, it all depends on the person as well and what they want to achieve, because I get some students that they don't want to do an apprenticeship. They've already got their own brand, whether it'll just be sewing dresses and stuff like that, but they want to get into more menswear stuff, and make a men's jacket or a woman's jacket. And I will teach them that. And then afterwards, obviously, if you want to keep doing this and you want to build a brand from doing the menswear, you're going to have to keep practicing. I've just given you all the tools to understand whether you want to still go into it and develop that. But if they want to do an apprenticeship, it will be still beneficial for them because they already have, like I said, a set of skills that they have that understanding, and they will think, okay, now I know what's involved in this. Yeah, I still want to do it. And then they'll know that they'll be with a teacher for like a couple of years, if that, because they've got previous knowledge before, so it'll be easy for them to pick up that this patch stitching. I remember this because I did it on a course or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So they won't want to try to find an apprenticeship first and go down that route. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's the first route you should try do anyway. But it's because it's so hard. When you do eventually get it, you have to know and be sure this is what you want to do, because you don't want to waste your time. You don't want to do an apprenticeship for like 2 or 3 years and then realize it's not for you. And so many people get disheartened because they're like, I'm still doing pocket base after a year and a half. I want to move on, and they start complaining about, the wages aren't great and whatnot. But you want someone that's hungry from the start and knows, okay, I know what I'm in for. It's exactly what I want to do. And I want to go for it. I've got a little bit of a head start. So now I just want to go full steam ahead and get this done, not as quickly as possible, but I want to give myself a time frame, trusting my teacher that he believes in my skills, just showing my worth, come in on the weekends, make stuff for myself, just really go, rather than just trying to get your foot in the door, and you're still figuring out if it's what you want or not, and you don't have no idea what to expect. And then, like I say, you get the apprenticeship finally, and then you realize it's not what you want. And it's not only waste of time for the student, but also the teacher, because then you kind of think secondly about taking someone else on again, because you're like, well, I don't even know if you're going to be serious or not,
Yes. Yeah, I guess that's a very difficult part for people in our industry, is how do I know whether you could be my apprentice, It's weird because I don't know if I'm sure you've felt this as well. There is kind of like an emotional attachment to it as well. When you enter into an apprenticeship with someone, you kind of feel like an emotional connection as well, and you don't get
because it's just you and that person.
Exactly.
Long hours in the day,
you don't get your heart broken maybe if they leave, after 3 months or so, but you do feel it. You're like, damn, man, why did he or she not just get on with it? They had so much talent.
Trust me, I exactly what you say. My old teacher, Dennis Cooper, I didn't have an official apprenticeship with him because for that reason, the last apprentice that he had decided he wanted to go and do painting and decorating. I think he was teaching him for like 3 years, and he
Right.
was still going on about it for like 6 months into me
Oh
training.
yeah.
He was still disappointed about the last guy, and I was like, I felt sorry for him. I was like, you know what? Now I think about it, because at the time I just wanted to learn. I was like, forget that guy. I'm here. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I do realize now that, you know, it is disheartening when you get someone that you put all that energy into and decide they don't want to do it no more. So, you know, I think only courses, any bespoke course or any course that you're doing, it can only just give you an insight. I'll give you an example, right? When I was doing my design and stuff like that, and I started to do the tailoring, and when I had this idea, like, yeah, I could learn the tailoring and, you know, I could do it in like a couple of years. And when I realized that, no, I've got to put some graft in for a good few years, even when I qualified after about, I think, 2.5 years, something like that. Not qualified because there wasn't no official thing, but I said to I'm ready. I can take this jacket now to a company and try and get work. When I was on that level, I knew that it took me another 5 years to build up a reputation of, number one, reliability. That's the number one, you know. Two, qualities should be the same with number one anyway. You know, you're not going to get the job unless the quality is there anyway, but you need to be reliable. So I worked on those things, being reliable, and it's difficult when not to blow my own trumpet, but when you're good, when you're doing and you get a reputation, you're good at making jackets, to keep that up, because you get busy, people want to give you more work, and then you still keep that reliability. You still need to have that part of you that says no to a job when you know you can't do it, because you know if you say yes to it and you don't do it on time, or you rush it and you know do different things, and the job doesn't come out right, you get a bad reputation. So it's keeping that balance of consistency. So as I was rambling on that, but what I was going to mention was, like, when I started to realize that I needed to come back to the creativity after doing, I think it was like for 10 years, then I was doing like just jackets, pinstripes, checks. It was driving me nuts. I was like, I don't need anything creative anymore. And then I decided I need to do a show. I did a fashion show, and it was mad. I think the video that you watched, those were the pieces that were from that.
Right.
When I look at it now, I'm like, geez, what was I thinking? It was I wouldn't wear any of them. Right. But I was so filled with creative things to do, and they're so stuck on the classic side for so long that I just put everything out there on the garments, and I just did a collection. And yeah, it was a bit crazy, but I needed to do that. But then I decided that, okay, I want to go to college and learn. I wanted to do a course, learn how to do designing, how to develop a collection. All right. So I would say to anyone out there, anything that you want to do in terms of, if it's, you know, if you want to be a designer, or whether you want to be a trouser maker, or you want to be a waist, whatever you want to, that thing that you want to do, you need to go and learn from that person. Or if you can't, then try to do a course in it so you can get a heads up in it. So I decided I wanted to do designing. So I thought, I don't want to go and do the MA and BA and all those courses that, you know, 4 or 5 years or whatever. I just wanted to learn just a short course. And I thought, I want to go to the best place just to learn a short course. And this is where I say doing courses are great, because it gives you an insight. Good courses give insight. And I've done this short course, and I thought, I'm going to go St. Martin's. St. Martin's is supposed to be the best place. So I went to St. Martin's. I must have done, I think it was an 8-week course, a summer course, something like that. 4-week summer course, in-depth summer course. And I learned so much about designing. I thought I was a designer before I did anything. I thought I knew it all. I went and done that short course, and it's such an insight into the industry about how to design. From, you know, I had to sit around on the table with a group of us, and we had to think of a design, think of a topic, and from that topic to go to the library. They had a nice library there. Was in there for a few hours researching, and then we came back and we had to do designs based off our research, and then from that we had to develop like different topics and shapes from that research, and pick ones that we liked, and we had to create a mood board. And then we had to do the costing sheets for the that was near towards it. But there was so much involved in it. It was such a short course that afterwards I was like, wow, I didn't realize that was everything that was involved in design. This was just a short course. So if I really want to be a designer, I would either go back to college and do a real course, do the MA and BA and all that kind of stuff. I don't even know if they're pronounced that way. I just, you know what I'm talking about, where it's the
Yes. Yeah.
degrees, masters and all that.
Yeah.
And so for those guys, a short course would be like, that's nothing. You don't even know how to design,
Yeah.
But for me, I thought, if I want to be a designer, that's what I'll have to go to and do the whole degree thing. But I didn't. I wanted to be a creative tailor. And I thought doing that short course is enough for me, because it enabled me to implement the stuff that I needed to adapt to what I was doing at the time, which was smart casual wear, bespoke wear. I just wanted to create garments that, just to show the possibilities of bespoke. That's all I wanted to do. And for me to learn how to design, do a short course that was adaptable for what I wanted to do. So I didn't need to go and do the whole degree thing. So I'd always say to any student, courses are great. Courses are great when, you just got to kind of understand what it is that you want to do, try to work out what you want to do, whether it's like, okay, I think I want to be, a designer. Then you will have to go back to uni, do that, and then do a placement in an actual designer. I'll give you an example. I had a student last week from St. Martin's, and he just got a placement at Givenchy. Is it Givenchy? Yeah.
Givenchy, yeah.
In Paris. He's so excited. I was like, yeah, go for it, mate. He's so buzzing. That's where you need to be. Yeah. That's where you need to be if you want to be a designer. You need to be in the environment. So same like if you want to be a coat maker, it's great if you can go and get an apprenticeship as a coat maker, if that's what you want to do. But if you can't get it, then do a course in it, get more insight into it. And if you really want to still develop, you can keep developing that, keep practicing, and get into a workshop, possibly. But if you just want to do tailoring as an extension to your collection or whatever, and you just want to adapt to that, you don't need to go to Savile Row like what I did. And get in bespoke for 10 years doing pinstripes and before you lose all your creativity and you're no use to anyone in the industry. Do you know what I mean? You might stay with the tailoring. So I'm kind of in between. I was fighting with myself for a lot of years because I was like, I'm not a designer, and I know I'm a tailor, but I know I'm not saying normal tailor. I like to do creative pieces, So it's understanding like where you want to go and trying to place yourself in those environments to expand on that. Because
I guess that it makes it a lot easier for people to find themselves first before throwing themselves out in the real battlefield, let's say.
Exactly.
And perhaps they can reach the conclusion whether this is for them or not a lot faster without sacrificing too much. You can sacrifice a little bit of money, you can sacrifice a little bit of time, but if it doesn't work out, you didn't move to a different country. You didn't lose or make enemies or lose your friends or whatsoever.
Exactly.
To bring it a little bit back on why you originally started and how you kind of like try to strategize your way through your career by learning the tailoring and then applying that on your designs. Why sewing, Lee? Why tailoring? Why did you feel that you needed to design things or make things? What you could have, you said you were working as a mechanic partially, and that's also working with your hand, and you can take that as a craft, really. You could have made handmade cars, let's say, and worked for Rolls Royce.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. It was quick to just make tires,
But if you wanted, being the person
if I wanted to pursue that, I would have gone down that route, because I got plenty of mechanics in my family. I would have gone to a garage, worked with my uncle for years, and learned more about it and stuff like that.
Exactly. So why?
I really do love creating stuff. I'm a creative person, and I think I get in the zone when I'm creating. That's my happy place. I think my therapy as well, to be honest. Younger in my years, in my 20s, I went through a lot of stress, and I was depressed a lot, and I found that it was a good escapism creating things, because I just get in the zone, and everybody's got that, right? I'm sure you have it as well. You get zone with something, and then you just forget what the time is. You forget everything, and it's just you're at peace with that. What you're doing at that time, that's your place of rating and just feeling just comfortable, and you just relax. And that's what designing does for me. I think
Mm-hmm.
even like when I try to think of different garments to make in terms of how can I create, like, I think the last jacket I did was like a waterproof um, inner layer for a bomber jacket. So
Mm-hmm.
how can I use like textile fabrics? And it was this guy that gave me the idea. Actually, I get ideas from a lot of different people. Andrew, his name is, and he gave me Andrew Chen. He gave me this idea. We're using Gore-Tex underneath tailoring fabric to make it waterproof. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
that's amazing on a bomber jacket. Having a
Mm-hmm.
waterproof bomber jacket, and they can still select their own cloth. So stuff like that, I'm like, it excites me, and I want to just try it out. And then there was another
Mm-hmm.
time when I wanted to do a heated bomber jacket, and it was like a heated vest. And I thought, how can I integrate that into a bomber jacket? And then you press a button inside just to
Mm-hmm.
make you feel. So I know it's novelty things. You know, I like
Mm-hmm.
to do show pieces. I just like to create. I like to inspire other makers as well. You know, I just
Mm-hmm.
want to show the possibilities of bespoke and what it can do as well in
Mm-hmm.
different elements, incorporating the old school techniques and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just something technology. I just that it excites me doing all that kind of stuff, do you know?
Are you like this in other
Oh,
aspects of
sorry
your
about the
life as
noise.
well?
They're doing some work outside. Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Are you like this in other aspects of your life as well?
Um, yeah, I would say, very creative with my kids. Yeah, I'm
So
very.
what when you're spending time with them, you're always bringing out some puzzle or some creative thing to make
Yeah,
or
puzzle.
crafts.
And my daughter, she loves making as well. And I get my kids into martial arts. Like we saying Bruce Lee. They
Yeah.
know about Bruce Lee. He's been dead for how long now? They know. I'm like, who's the best martial artist? For Bruce Lee, Daddy. They know about Bruce Lee. I'm always doing like snake style or dragon style, messing
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Running around on the floor. And they like when I come home from work, Daddy, what about snake style? Show me snake style.
Yeah.
I'm always messing about with them, you know. But
Mm.
I'm always doing like creative craft stuff with them, you know, making and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But to be honest, I work so much as well, so I need to
Mm.
spend more time. But the time I do spend, I'm like happy daddy that
Yeah.
does all
Yeah.
mad stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I would say if not with like my kids, I'm creative. I would say generally I'm pretty easygoing. Yeah,
Mm.
I kind of switch off when I'm not doing my creative stuff. I just switch off, and I just like
Mm.
to chill. But
Mm.
I would say my happy times are definitely, if not with my kids, but creating things in my head that I feel before I can make it that I feel could work, and I try to
Mm-hmm.
put it together in my mind and think, okay, I think that's a great idea. I think that could work, and then I try to
Mm-hmm.
figure it out. I like challenging myself. I like to
Mm-hmm.
challenge myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like when
Mm-hmm.
it came to doing a bespoke blazer in
Mm-hmm.
leather and canvassing it, I was like, yeah, I know that's never really been done before, has it? And I thought, let me
Mm-hmm.
try that. And
Yeah.
then I was figured it out, and I was like, yeah, I like that. Now what else can I do that's difficult? I like
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
difficult things as well. But yeah, I like to challenge. I like to showcase bespoke in different forms, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what motivates me. You know, definitely.
When you're deeply in the zone, right? You are at the right place at the right time. You're feeling how you want to feel, and you know that you are lost in time and space. What exactly do you feel? What
Wow.
is it that you feel exactly? If you had to describe it in by any means,
Home. I feel at home.
home, home.
Yeah, I feel at home.
So
I
you're
feel like,
using home as almost like a symbolic way, not literally home, but home as in like what
yeah.
home. So what does that home mean?
So that means like I feel comfortable. I feel like this is where I should be when I'm in that
Mm-hmm.
moment. You know,
Mm-hmm.
don't get me wrong. I've worked at home before where it's
Mm-hmm.
just felt like, oh, it's just work because I'm doing so many hours. Well,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
really feel at home now, but I
yeah.
feel at home when I'm creating something that I feel that
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited about the end goal and how it's going to look. And I feel at that time,
Mm-hmm.
this is what it's all about. You know,
Mm-hmm.
this is why I'm doing this. You know, and that to
Mm-hmm.
me just like feels comfortable. So I would say I feel at home. You know,
Yes, yes. You know, some people get a lot of comfort when they are praying or when they are with a loved one or they are maybe they are making love or all things. We could there is a plenty
I
of
feel that
things.
too. I feel that too. Don't get me wrong. To make
Yeah.
you laugh.
So
Yeah, I feel
so
those things too.
what I want to get at is, do you feel kind of like some form of spiritual satisfaction when you are in the zone,
Um,
where you feel
if
like
you want to call it
you're
spiritual, I feel like this is where I should be.
Mhm,
That's what it feels like. So for me, if to give you an example, if I wasn't doing anything creative, I haven't done anything creative for a while now. If you check out my Instagram, I haven't done nothing for a while now. And I don't really feel I'm not that happy because I'm not creating. I'm only happy when I'm creating. Don't get me wrong. You can't do it all the time because there's other things that you need to do in business, as you know. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how
yes,
you do interviews in all the time and you manage to do your other stuff, but it's time management, right?
yes,
And I always made time to make stuff.
hmm
You know what I mean? I always made time to make showpieces. Like all these patterns here, yeah,
hmm
these aren't customers. These are
hmm
not customers. These some of them are customers. I would say I got
hmm
90% of my patterns. Well, I would say about 30% of that is
hmm
customers. The rest of it, collections I've done over the years,
hmm hmm
showpieces that I've done,
hmm
things that I've been working on to refine, to get to
hmm
a good stage. And I'll give you an example. I was chatting to my good friend Shane,
hmm
trouser maker, best trouser maker in the world,
yeah,
best trouser maker by far. Anyone that would disagree, there are some great trouser makers out there, but he
yeah,
brings it to another level because in terms of women's wear, he's taken
hmm
women's wear to a place where no one
hmm
would even know where to start with how to cut the pair of trousers that way.
hmm
And I was speaking with him, and it's like what we were understanding that yeah, it takes a while to get to that stage where you've perfected something. And this is where it's a
hmm
thin line between where you feel comfortable teaching people and
hmm
showing them the knowledge. Because I understand why some people don't want to share their knowledge because it's a thing that you're trying to protect what you've got. And I've been like
hmm
that before with some of my
hmm
bomber jackets that it's something that new that I've discovered and I've refined and I've got to a stage where it's like, yeah, this is great now. You don't want to just teach someone straight away,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
but now I'm comfortable to do it. But when I
hmm
just got it to where I went,
yeah,
I wasn't
yeah,
comfortable. You know what I mean? You're still
yes,
protective.
yeah,
But I was saying to Shane, it was like we're both at a level at the moment where we feel comfortable enough. We don't
hmm
mind teaching people what we know
hmm
because they won't get to the stage. Not say won't get to the stage we're at, but everyone has their own interpretation
hmm
of what we see,
hmm
and to practice that interpretation and to practice your craft and refine it to get a look and a way of doing things that no one else has practiced as intensely as you have.
hmm
Even if you do show someone that one thing that you've done,
hmm
they will never be able to do it constantly
yes,
because you've trained yourself to know
hmm
how to do it without a pattern, know that run and how to do that line. You
yes,
just do it because
you've lived it.
you've lived it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, of
So
course, yeah.
that's why I don't, I don't have any holdbacks to teaching anyone anything. Not just because I
hmm
think that they're not going to get what I'm not because of that. I just feel that there's only one of you. You're always going to have your own interpretation of what you do, and no
hmm
one can copy you and what you do. My own mind, the way it thinks in doing other creative things and creative pieces. I know I have a pattern of how I do that and how I get
hmm
to create that, and only I would know that.
hmm
You
hmm
can't teach that. You can teach
hmm
someone the basics, but they can't follow the pattern of thinking that you've accumulated over a lot of practicing and practicing and practicing.
Absolutely, yes. Because your one sentence is actually 500 sentences, kind of like compressed into one over the years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so
exactly.
yeah, of course, when you are making a simple, I don't know, peak lapel facing, you're actually it's as if you're making all the 7,000 peak lapels that you've done all at once,
Yeah,
kind of, they
yeah,
all
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like compile.
That's right. That's right.
Very
100%.
understandable. What I find absolutely interesting is you said, I am the happiest when I'm creating, when I'm making things, I feel at home. And then you also said, and this is where it gets interesting, I haven't been making for a long time. And whereas you refer to making as more the creative part, where you are looking at new things that you haven't done rather than, oh, another gray jacket, another blue jacket.
Yeah.
Would it be right to say that you see that the other one, the everyday suit, let's say, more as a process rather than a creation, kind of like more as a how'd you call, what should I say? What would be the right word? You know what I'm getting at?
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, 100%. I think I only see it as more of a creation if I'm doing it for a customer, because it's a different body type. So you have to still make it fit that body type that no one, everyone's different, right? So it's still a unique piece. Even though it's still a suit, it's still unique for that person. So I'm still excited about creating and making it look just as elegant on them as I can, and make it look unique, make them happy. I'm excited about that process. So it is the same feeling when I'm creating a piece that is really more creative. It's a similar feeling. It's not the same, it's similar, but I think it's more intense when it's something new. It's something that I'm looking to challenge myself to achieve that see if I can make it look wow piece. Do you know what I mean? And I want people to look at it and think, because most of the time I know people ain't going to buy that kind of stuff. Don't get me wrong. I've got no delusions, right? I know that. And that's probably part of the reason why I'm not flooded with customers, because I know the type of jackets that I do is not for everyone. And I know that. But I'm at peace with that, because I'm happy that I'm creating something that I love to do. And I know that I open a conversation. I have some customers that will say, yeah, Lee, I like that piece, but have you got a watered down, something that's more of in the navy and, a bit more watered down than that? That's fine. It's like a conversation, right? You know what I mean? Or I get a student that says, oh, I love that piece that you did. That's so, it's creative. And so I like that. And I'm not doing that because I want to get loads of customers. I'm doing it because I just want to just showcase Bespoke, and I haven't done it for a while, like I said, and it is something that I need to get back into and start to do. I have got like this idea that I'm just like, I can't wait to start experimenting and stuff like that. So I've got that buzz back, but it's it's something that is gets you in that happy place that you can constantly keep going back to, that you can you can do. It's important, and even if you're just if you're just making jackets and you're not doing anything creative, that's fine. If you want to start making stuff for friends and family and see how you can create something that can fit them and get a better fit and make them happy and you get a buzz out of that, then wherever that makes you, gets you in that place where you're like, oh, that's what I like from that, then you just got to keep doing it, right?
Yes. Lee, I have a speed round that I would like to do with you. And then I'll ask you where people can find your work and how they can actually get in touch with you. So are you ready for the speed round?
Go for it.
All right. Okay. So most influential person.
Apart from my mother, my grandmother, because they influenced me. This is a speed one. Sorry, speed. Influential. Andrew Ramroot, I would say professionally Andrew Ramroot. Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. If you could make 3 changes to the industry right now, what would that be? Just for people to share as much as they can and not to put other tailors down. This is not me sounding bitter, right? Not to put other tailors down that share knowledge. Just as, all right, if you're not adding anything to the industry, shut up. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's
Absolutely.
like, fair enough. I know tailors that don't want to share nothing. That's fine. I'm not saying nothing about you. Do your thing.
Yes.
But you got something to say about me sharing knowledge? You got a problem with me sharing stuff?
Yeah.
Just keep to do what you're doing. If you're not adding nothing, shut up. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Anyway, I'm kind of going too far into but
No, that's okay. Okay, so what do you want to see more of around you?
Well, I'm seeing it more now. Smart casual wear.
Smart casual wear.
I've always wanted to see more smart casual wear, and that's
when you say smart casual wear. Should you mean Bespoke. Okay, so you're not talking about digital clothing, smart clothing in that sense.
It could be a mix of both. I would
Right.
like to see tailoring embrace technology as well, without losing obviously the fundamentals
Yeah.
side of bespoke, which make bespoke bespoke. I'm not talking about doing digital measuring and all that, even though I tried to do that with the bomber jackets at one stage, I mean, online when it was
Yes.
up. And I try everything. I'm not shying
Yeah.
away
Yeah.
from it. If it works, it works. But obviously we
Yeah.
do an interview where it's about customer care and the process and the service. So you need that. So, but anything that can enhance that, you're bringing your iPad with you and you're doing a design and showing a customer a different, I don't know, whatever. I just think,
Yeah.
I would like to see the industry embracing, and some houses are doing that. Some houses are doing it, don't get me wrong,
Yeah. Yeah.
but also you got the bad side and good side to that. Once technology goes
Yes.
that, then but also Cad and Danny, I like how what's my man's name again? From Cad and Danny, I've forgotten his name now. But yeah, I like how he's doing his brand, and he was at underdog at the beginning, and look how he's doing well now, man. So it's guys like that are thinking about how they can make things more easier, how they can refine it, and how they can simplify things, and how it can go over into everything else, and everyone's in unison, and everything can run more smoothly. And the end goal is the customer, right? And so I love what they're doing, and there's some other people out there that are doing really that are doing good stuff, like yourself, man. You're raising all these questions that there's people out there that want to know. There's
Well, I want to know. I want to know as well. So that's why I'm asking them, because it's a big world. It's a big world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I don't know as well. So, you've answered a lot of questions for me too. When I listen to some of your interviews, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Didn't know that.
All right. Okay. 3 qualities of a real master.
3/4 a real master.
Yeah.
Okay. One that's always willing to learn, doesn't know everything. Yeah. And always wants to improve all the time. That comes with always wanting to learn, I suppose. Yeah. And listens.
Right.
Listen to the student. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The worst thing that can happen to Savile Row.
The worst thing.
Yes.
I think for everything to be, I don't know what's the worst thing. And the shop's closing down already as well. The rates are going up all the time. Those are the worst things that happened already.
Right.
The camaraderie's there. That's the great thing. I don't know. The worst thing that just more ready to wear shops go there, and there's less bespoke. But I don't have nothing against ready to wear. I think you need to have a balance of that too, because that draws in customers as well. And even at one stage I wanted to do ready to wear, and it's a completely different market. So I think you've got to have a balance of everything. So for the worst thing to happen, worst thing for Savile Row, it's just it'll be unfortunate for a lot more shops to close down, basically. That's the worst thing. It'd be worst thing is for them put up more rent, to put the rent up more.
Right.
That's
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's do the best thing that could happen to Savile Row as well, just to keep it positive.
Yeah, I think the best thing is happening now. I think we're a lot more busy. Yeah, most of the tailoring houses are really busy.
Yeah.
And they're actually expanding on their bespoke range, which is great. Like they're doing more casual pieces as well, making some pieces for companies on the road, doing like leather jackets and stuff like that. I just think it's great to just, whereas before some of the companies wouldn't even offer them any customers anything. They'll be like, no, I do the suits, or they wouldn't really have the tailors that could make the other stuff that they wanted. So not like what they wouldn't do, it's just that there wasn't anyone that would really make that. But I think now, because of demand of more, casual pieces as well, they've found manufacturers that can do these things as well. And there's tailors like myself that can do these pieces. So, it's great for the expansion of Bespoke and Savile Row Bespoke as well, in particular, because, you know, people don't just need to come in for suits anymore. They can get a casual jacket, and you know, casual trousers and safari jackets. Those always been there anyway, but I think it's become more popular now that people want more casual pieces. So it just means when they order like a couple of suits, maybe they might order a couple of casual jackets as well. You know, so it's business. You know, so I think that's the best thing so far that I've seen out of this whole pandemic thing, that tailors are a lot more busier, and you know, it's not the same as it used to be, because people are just ordering more you know, casual pieces as well. So just kind of it just expands the wardrobe, and you know, it's great, it's good to see, man. It's good to see.
Okay, I have two more. The most difficult thing in tailoring.
Oh, difficult thing in tailoring. In terms of making, or the
however you want to interpret that.
Anything in particular? I don't know. I think new pieces are always challenging. Like making something new that no one's made before, that a customer wants, is always challenging, because the customer doesn't really know how it should look, so to speak. They just got an idea, a picture of what they want, but transfer that over into Bespoke and make it fit them, and have certain deals on it that they know they didn't know was an option, but now they know they can have, and then they decide they want different details on it, and then you've got somehow make it look good and bespoke, like fitted for them, when it was originally like a casual piece, and then they change their mind halfway through. Like working on this leather jacket, and then customers change his mind what he wants. It's like, if I take this out, you're going to see the marks. I'm going to have to make the whole thing again. So for me, that's the most challenging thing in tailoring, so to speak. But I don't know. There's quite a few things I'm sure I've forgotten, but overall, I try to be open for challenges. I like challenges, but you know, nobody wants to work on something that they've got to really think about a lot. And okay, you know what? I don't know if this is possible, but I'm that person that wants to really try and do it. Yeah. But it jump at night. For me, it does, because I'll be, I'll leave it and go home, say, because you got to know when to walk away from something sometimes when it's not working right, and say, okay, I'm walk away from this, come back in the morning and get on it. And then I'll go home, sleep, and I won't be able to get no sleep properly, because I'm thinking about how I can solve this problem. And I come back the next day, and then I've done it, and then like, oh, yay, done it. Yeah. And you're like, oh, he wants another one. And then you're like, nah, you know, you just say, yeah, I'll do it. But then the next one's easier, right? Because then
yes, of course. All right, okay. Last but not least, Lee Marsh.
What about me?
if you would have, if I would ask you Lee Marsh in a speed round, what would you say?
I just like to work hard and keep it going and inspire any of the, you know, people that want to go into making, whether it's creatively or bespoke wise. I'm just trying to get people as excited as I get when I'm sewing something, you know. So yeah, that's me professionally, so to speak. That's I would say that's me. That's what I want to always portray. Just inspire students and promote bespoke, that there's so much more that we can do with bespoke. You know, I hate limitations that some tailors put on bespoke, and I'm just like, there's so much more. There's so many like designers that take stuff from bespoke and don't have a really good interpretation of it, because they don't really know.
They don't live it.
You know what I mean? They don't really know the depth of what's behind it and how to construct it properly. But I think once you understand how, even if it's just a basic jacket, and you understand how to do that, you can make so many different garments from that. It's so adaptable. Some of the techniques that, you know, I believe bespoke is it's a shame that you know, I want to say it's a shame that it's not wasted on only suits. I wouldn't say it in that phrase, it's the wrong term, but it's just capable of so much more, you know. That's what I feel like we'll do that. There's their interpretation, like couture stuff and like men's wear. But again, I just feel like if you've got someone from a really good tailoring background that understands construction better, it makes the garment look better. You know what I mean? When you're
Yes.
do these fancy things in it, you know what I mean? It's all about the
Yeah.
construction. So that's why it's important for designers to understand construction as well. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, you did inspire me before I moved to London, and your video made my friend understand what the hell it was that I was going to do when I moved to London. So thank you for that. Lee, where can people get in touch if they want to engage with you and follow your course and learn from you?
Oh, thanks, man. So, yeah, I mean, get me on Instagram. I'm on Lee Marsh 1975. Showing my age there, right? I didn't think of that one through before I put that up. And then I've got Lee Marsh Bespoke. That's my main page. I've got a website on there, so you know it's got all my tailoring pieces on there, and I've got like the Bespoke Academy on there as well. So yeah, there you go.
Thank you very much, Lee.
Thanks, Reza, for having me. You are diamond top man, mate. You know what I mean? And what you're doing in the trade is, you know, you're in your own lane as well, man. You're trying to promote Bespoke to new levels as well, and just have some more kind of input in terms of developing and streamlining the way we do things in Bespoke. And that's what it takes. Everyone doing their own little take and doing a little thing. And I'll see stuff that you do, but like, oh yeah, it's great what he's doing. You know what I mean? And we all start to do it. You know what I mean? And it just elevates Bespoke, man. You know. So
thank you.
Doing your thing, man. Keep doing your thing, sir.
Thank you. And that was Lee. I hope you all enjoyed the conversation. If you'd like to see more of Lee or you'd like to get in touch with him, check out the links in the description of this video. And as always, if you have any thoughts, questions, or comments, please let us know. And I hope to see you again in the next episode. Until then, bye-bye.